You were handed a story long before you were even born, long before you can even read that story. And every decision since has been about one thing. Can you outrun this story, or do you burn this story to the ground? Pachenko gives us two brothers, both born of the same mother, both born in the same country, both received the same shame long before they were even born. But with these two brothers, their lives separate from the shame. One is able to overcome it, while the other gets buried with the shame. This is the Literary Tailor Podcast, where we have great books that inspire better conversations. And today it's Pachenko, the final episode. And today's episode highlights the two brothers, Noah and Moses. These brothers show us how shame is handled, both in a positive and negative light. These brothers have shame written upon them long before they were even born. But we watch through this book, this amazing book, how each brother reacts to it. One is able to succeed, to show this shame away, throw it away, have it no longer be a shadow, while the other, that shame, that shadow covers them like a blanket. They cannot escape the shame, even though how hard they try to. They try their best to escape this shame, but they can't outrun this shame. So let's get into today's episode of Pachenko. Let's get into it, guys. Before we start talking about the brothers, I think it's important to talk about what is shame and how does this shame impact a man? How does this shame impact a man's daily life? How does this shame impact the man looking at the mirror with this shame reflecting back at him? What is shame? How does it differ from guilt? Guilt is this feeling I did something wrong, where shame is I am something wrong. Shame becomes part of a identity. And this is what these brothers have to experience throughout this whole book. Shame for a man becomes a huge internal struggle where he can't escape this shadow. He believes no matter how hard he tries, he is something wrong. And this is what Noah and Moses experienced throughout this entire book. Because from the moment they were born, they were given Korean blood. They were Koreans. I know this factor shouldn't be something shameful, but during this time period, especially living in Japan, being Korean wasn't a good thing at all. In fact, it was the bottom of the totem pole. They were at the bottom of the barrel. They were perceived as dirty, lower than Japanese, the lowest of the, I guess, Asians, if you can say. So for Noah and Moses to have this shame of feeling uh, out of place, not equal to their Japanese classmates and other colleagues that they experienced throughout their lives, they are just at the bottom of the barrel before they were even born. And this shame internalized throughout their entire life. This shame flows through their blood as quickly as any other part of their body. The shame becomes their shadow that becomes a very sad moment in this book. For both Noah and Moses, the game, the life, was already built against them before they were born. The story that they were given was built against them from the start. And they had to experience how what might happen and what might not happen, almost like a gambling slot machine, if you can say that. Pachenko, that's what I say, a machine or something for gambling for this book. But this pachinko, this gambling, becomes like a factor where the brothers can be almost like identified as the ball itself. But where does this ball drop? Nobody knows. And that's what these brothers had to experience and overcome just to survive this shame. What does Pachenko truly ask isn't what these men do, it's asking what do these men's shame really cost them. Noah was everything Japan said Koreans couldn't be. That was the problem. When we first meet Noah, he's a very intelligent kid, always having a book at hand. He desires to be a scholar, always having a English literature book with him as well, always reading in a corner because this is a trait that he picked up from his stepfather, Isaac. As Isaac later dies, this trait is the only connection that Noah has for his stepfather. He wanted to become an important scholar and go to a university and just become a better version, a better person, better man than anyone in his family could, because prior to Noah, no one ever acceded to this education, acceded to a higher place in the workforce. And Noah had desire to do this, except he had a lot of shame. For Noah, the shame had two layers. Along with his brother, he's Korean in a Japanese society where he's already against the odds, just being Korean. He had to hide this fact almost till the end of his life. He didn't reveal to anyone that he's Korean, even to the women that he formed a romantic relationship. He doesn't tell them anything about his Korean past. Also, unlike his brother, that separates the two, is he's also a bastard son of Hansu and his mother. But Hansu's a Japanese man, which you might think would be some open doors for Noah, and I guess you can say sort of did because Hansu would pay for Noah's education. But unbeknownst to Noah, Hansu was connected, might have been had Yakuza connections. And this connection that Hansu had is what really tipped Noah's story overboard. Going from a scholar, very achievable academic, to something he can't outrun. He decides to quit school and just try to outrun his entire life, even leaving his family behind, just to start a new life and to hide away the best that he can of this past that he can never truly outrun. And Noah creates a new life for himself, but it's a fake life. It's a fake identity. He doesn't even refer to himself in a Korean last name. I believe he even took away his actual name just to make sure that this part, his past self, is truly in the ground and forgotten. But what he built was a glass house, and once that glass house has a few chips in it, it all comes shattering down. Unfortunately for Noah, this happens to him. For Noah, no matter how far he runs, no matter how far he goes, he can't escape his past. Even when he builds a family, he has children, he has a wife, he has a good job that's paying him a lot of money. It's in a pachinko business, which is sort of ironic, but he can't escape this past no matter how hard he tries to bury it, how much he wants to get rid of it, wipe away this nasty blood that he believes that he has. Unfortunately for him, the past can never be just in the past, and his past will reemerge. Unfortunately for Noah, he knows that there's no other option, there's no other way to run. And that's when he does something that truly breaks my heart in this book. He decides to end his life because he knows that's the only way he can even outrun the past. If you need help with journaling or just interested in writing a lot more, I have an affiliate at the link below. Check it out, and I recommend it because I use it all the time as well. Check out the link below and check it out, please. Thank you. Noah didn't die from shame. He died from exhaustion, from running away from his past for 30 years. Moses never tried to become Japanese, and that decision, ones might view as giving up, was the best thing for him to survive. Moses, unlike his brother, was more of a rebel. The police actually knew him very well, always getting arrested for fighting or for other reasons. Moses was definitely a total opposite from Noah. And this identity of not fitting, I don't want to say fit in, but this uh he knows himself internally, which unlike Noah, who just couldn't accept himself, Moses on the other hand was able to find ways to become his true self, the true man that he knows that he wants to be. Moses, unlike Noah, actually left school. One might think he was giving up on a lot of things, a lot of opportunities. He was going to become uh, a bum, live on the streets or something, homeless. Moses was almost seeing that this was going to be his future. But Moses was a very good at his own skills, these skills that he knew how to nurture and grow. So much so, he becomes a pachinko business owner. From he starts at the bottom and he rises to the top, becomes a very wealthy man. He doesn't allow the shame that he had with the Noah being Korean and Japanese culture. He didn't allow the Japanese culture to consume him. He didn't allow the Japanese to refine him. He allowed himself to refine himself, and he succeeded. Of course, he had his own fair of traumas. I think one of the biggest one was his wife would end up being killed in a crash, and Moses had to become a single father. So, atop of the owning the pachinko business uh, buildings and other opportunities, he also was a father to his son. So you add that to the top of everything, you would think Moses would collapse, have a similar outcome as Noah. No, he actually succeeds in everything he does. He becomes a great business owner and he becomes a great father for his son. And he also develops even more relationships and he tries again at a romance relationship. And it actually does work out, I guess, little bit better than the first one. Obviously, not as so still a little bit trauma, but that's for another episode. And similar to Isaac, how his passing of traits to Noah, such like um, books, scholars, and pretty much academics, something that Noah does possess even till the end. Solomon, Moses' son, is able to grasp and carry these traits that Moses had for himself, and Solomon uh, becomes excels in the business world as well, including baking. And by the end, he joins his father in the pachinko business. So, unlike Noah, Moses is able to use his shame as a way to feel, yeah, to feel himself, to not become uh, someone lesser, and he's able to nurture and create his own image that he can pass down to his son, and he does that, and they form a good business by the end of this book. He didn't hide what he was; he just built what they said he was. He became a stronger and internally powerful man, that he became a proud father, that he can pass down all these traits to his son for the better. Moses didn't win because the world got easier. He survived because he was able to carry the shame no matter what. This isn't about who made the right choice, For some, for Noah's out there, they might think that Noah's actions was the right one. Noah's path, how hard to accept that what his path will lead to, is very understandable in some ways. Obviously, I wish he didn't end up taking his life. I was hoping he would turn his life around, but I can understand Noah's reasoning behind these actions. This whole image of himself that he created, he spent years in the classroom reading pretty much everything just to better himself. Just collapsed right in front of him, and he just didn't know how to put out the fire as the fire kept on rising. He just couldn't uh, fix the storm that was coming his way. He couldn't accept the shame. He just couldn't accept this new reality, this new identity that he has to endure or had to endure, because I can understand this in a lot of ways, knowing this image he built for himself is just gone. Point isn't Noah is the weakest and Moses is the strongest. The fact is, shame finds a host, and that shame becomes permanent if how you treat it. And as we can see, both Noah and Moses experienced this shame, but experience different outcomes or ways how to treat this shame. Moses decides not to allow that shame to become permanent, where Noah decides, or unbeknownst to him, he allows this shame to become permanent. And this is what difference the brothers. One takes this shame more permanent than the other. I think we all can experience some identity issues, especially the men in my audience or viewers or listeners. We think about this new, I guess, new ways how the our society views us men, how we're supposed to be during tough times, how we're not supposed to show our own feelings, emotions, because if you show your emotions, you become weak, and you allow that anger to build up until you can't control that anger anymore. You feel other shame, whether it be your career, your relationships, wherever. The shame will always find a way to internalize within you, within me as well, because I had a lot of shame as well. I had a problem with alcohol that it definitely is a good shameful moment in my life. But for me, I found my connection to Moses because I didn't allow that shame to become permanent. I decided to use that shame to become a better version of myself. So, and as today, I'm 8 months sober. So I can look at that shame as not as a permanent mark on my life, but as a turning point for me. Something that I won't define myself today. Of course, Moses' shame wasn't scot free, wasn't easy compared to Noah. For him, he had to cut for his cost of shame. He had to experience loneliness, loss, mourning, pretty much a lot of things that a lot of people would probably want to give up as well. But Moses continued to find a way to keep on surviving. Pachinko isn't a book that just tells you what to do. It just shows you the cost for each road you take. This is the kind of conversation you've been looking for. Stay around. Noah chose erasure. Moses chose defiance. Both brothers paid a price, but only one brother is able to keep his name. Difference between Noah and Moses isn't their strength. It's how they see their shame on themselves versus the world. This is the last episode of Pachinko. I very love this book, and maybe I'll talk about this book in a later future episode, but for now, this is the last episode of Pachinko. I truly love this book. I couldn't put it down. I had all the emotions as I read this book from start to finish. That's why it took 3 episodes to do for this book, because this book is truly a special. I recommend this book to read at least once in your life, because something about how this author writes, it creates this world for us readers is truly a remarkable masterpiece in my mind. It shows us how shame is carried through one family member to another family member from generation to generation, and how these family members are able to experience this pain, experience this shame, experience a lot of emotions, and how they can carry it throughout their lives. Whether that shame leads them to a darker path than others, or that shame becomes a fuel, like Moses, to become a better version of himself. I also have a YouTube channel, The Literary Tailor, where you can jump on there and check out more videos and more content that I have about books. This is The Literary Tailor, the podcast, where we have great books that inspire better conversations. Until then, guys, happy reading.